Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing great. Welcome to Reimagine Growth Season 2, Episode 2. I am Ruchika Sharma and I am the Customer Marketing Manager at CleverTap. At CleverTap, we are constantly trying to bring in experts to share their winning strategies with all of you so you can learn from those strategies and bring growth to your own brand. This is a 3 days webinar series where we have mobile experts from Branch, Google, Carousel, GrowthX, and some of our own CleverTab experts, of course, sharing their learnings. These mobile experts are covering topics like emerging growth channels and the exact acquisition approach that you should be taking for your brand during these new times. Besides this, we have today's session, which will be around finding the effective sync between content and engagement. And the third would be understanding some tips to supercharge retention strategy. So, just a quick recap around the day one. It went pretty well for us. We had Aniket Sinha from Branch and John Huang from Carousel. Aniket particularly spoke about the acquisition channel that are being used by growth brands and top brands, while John shared with us what exactly is the customer life cycle approach for acquisition. So with this, we'll move on and start with our second day. Our main focus for today is content and engagement. And under this, you will get to learn engagement frameworks and how to build engagement engines for your brand. Talking about this, we have with us Udyan Valvekar. Udyan Valvekar is the co-founder at GrowthX. His core lies in product-led growth and user psyche. He has driven growth for startups right from seed stage to Series D. Also, he is one of the founding members of growth team at Razorpay. Udyan, I would request you to take it from here and share your screen.
Thank you, Ruchika. Hey guys, let me just share my screen. Awesome. All right. Awesome. Welcome to the engagement engine powered by CleverTap, guys. So I think there are a bunch of folks that are like, I think we have about 100 right now. I want to know what kind of roles, what kind of challenges that you guys are currently solving. Ruchika, Tanushree, is it possible for you guys to just put a poll up? I would love to understand your roles today and what kind of challenges that you guys are getting. Awesome. Do we have enough votes? Awesome. Yes. Yeah. All right. So I see like a decent chunk of you guys are growth marketers from marketing, maybe digital marketing, certain percent from PMs. So when it comes to engagement, the typical thing that we've seen is usually PMs are very interested about engagement frameworks, engagement engine, followed by growth marketers, then founders and digital marketing folks, right? So this seems like a very accurate representation that, and what the reason why we want to like really deep dive on engagement today is engagement is always an overlooked factor when it comes to retention, right? When you're trying to get to retention, without engagement, you're never going to actually get to that retention factor, right? So you end up basically acquiring your customers without really engaging them, and then they typically churning out, and that's something that we want to all avoid. So let's begin. Awesome. All right. There are three things that we want to take a look at, right? One, what is an engagement metric? What does even it mean by being someone engaged, right? The next thing we want to look at all the frameworks that the best companies, the top 1% startups use, and how you can use that framework in your own startup, right? And finally, we want to go through a exhaustive Q&A session from you guys. Also, just a heads up, this session is going to be slightly different. I don't want to like just sit here and like, just shell out gyan, but I'm going to like, periodically like ask Ruchika and folks to like, get someone up and actually start communicating. So this is going to be a very two-way kind of a communication. All right, awesome. Cool. Let's begin. Cool. So this looks like a very typical graph, right? You're acquiring customers from Facebook, from Google, from wherever, referral, word of mouth. You acquire them, then you make sure that your users are doing that first key action that will help them onboard to your platform, right? And then with engagement, you're trying to look at they keep making that repeated action, that action repeatedly. And if not, then they'll churn or then you can monetize. In today's topic and today's session, we only want to cover about engagement. We only want to look at this part of the funnel. And before we begin, I want to understand now from you guys, I'm sure a bunch of folks have at least heard of Tinder, if not used Tinder. What is an engagement metric for Tinder? Just use the chat box and just, I want to know what you guys think. What can be an engagement metric for Tinder? What are the things that they are looking at? Swipe rights. They're only looking at swipe rights. App sessions, number of swipes, got it. DAU, match, spotlight, interesting. Premium packs, very interesting. Maths and chats, session duration, gender ratio, Saloni, interesting. Number verification, okay. Subhanshu says swipes. All right, I think most of you guys are around like, swiping is a engagement metric that Tinder looks at. Awesome, cool, perfect. Let's look at the next part. What will be a retention metric for Tinder? Same again, I would love to get in the chat section on what do you guys think. Now you guys told me about the engagement metric. What do you think is a retention metric for Tinder? Match and message, okay? People successfully matching, okay? Piyush says match 2 times, all right. Updating profile, interesting. Super match, got it. Right. Responding to notifications. I think it's constantly chatting on the app, Pari. Maybe it is. Number of interactions. Someone said paying for Tinder Gold. Very interesting. All right, awesome, cool. So I think what we can summarize from this is that yes, Tinder is a pretty simple app, right? All it has is 2 or 3 gestures you can use to kind of start using the app. It's just swipe left or swipe right, right? Now when we look at engagement, what we often see with Tinder is, or any product or any startup that is there, right, is that they look at retention in isolation from engagement. Engagement is something that the user is doing on his own, and retention is something that you want the user to do something, right? It's your gain, engagement is their gain, right? You're solving for them in engagement. And with Tinder, what does Tinder do essentially, right? Tinder is, you're trying to look at a literal physical aha moment. That's what Tinder's value prop is, right? In the real world. And you might do swipe left, swipe right, rewind, whatever. But a retention metric for Tinder from a product lens, when you look at it, is not going to be that. It's going to be at the premium subscriptions, or how many people subscribe to the premium membership and actually stay. How long do they stay? Right, that can be an angle. Or how many people can you use for monetization through ads, right? That's going to be the retention metric. I would like you guys to raise your hands or just say yes on the chat on anyone who's used Spotify. Does anyone use Spotify here? I'm sure like there are plenty, but all right, cool. Can we get someone, either Ria or Saloni? I would like swipe. What is an engagement metric going to be for Spotify? Anyone? Ria or Saloni? or Abhish Kumar. Can you guys please nominate them to like speak? Ruchika, Tanushree, need your help. Just want to have a chat. Awesome. Hey Ria, can you unmute yourself? All right, we have both. Ria. Hi Ria, how's it
Hi.
going?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm great. Awesome. So you use Spotify, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. How long have you been using Spotify for?
About a month and a half.
Interesting. So a new customer. I want to know your perspective on what do you think can be an engagement metric for Spotify? What do you think that they are tracking? What do you think they're looking at?
I think again, amount of time spent on the app. Maybe it's playing in the background, or maybe how much you're swiping through their playlists can be another metric.
Correct. Correct.
How well you're taking the recommendations that they are providing you with.
Awesome.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think this would be it.
Makes sense. Saloni, do you want to add anything on the Spotify engagement bit than what Ria just mentioned?
Yeah. So hi, can you hear me?
Hi, Saloni. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. So apart from the songs we listen and the genre we are tracking, I've noticed that not recently, but a while back, they changed the background color from white to black.
Mm-hmm.
And I read on a couple of articles that they did that precisely because they wanted to increase the retention and the eye span of the users who are using the platform
Got it.
onto their Spotify app.
Very
And
interesting.
they did see that a huge number of people retained a lot longer when it moved from white to black, or now when they have options to switch between white and black.
Exactly. Correct. So I think Ria and Saloni, you guys both have this on point. Time spent or playlist curated at least, right, is the engagement metric because that's what adds value to the user, right? Now, what can be a retention metric for this? And yeah, what do you guys think can be a retention metric for Spotify? Like, I'll give you the base example again, right? Retention is something that you want out of your users. That's how you're looking at it. Whereas engagement is what the user wants out of your product.
So maybe they update their membership. The user updates their membership, and maybe they get the premium duo
Correct.
membership instead of just a single membership.
Correct. Correct.
That could be one metric. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think like, subscribing or how long after subscribing, how long have they been using? Or the other one is, especially in India, where subscriptions are hard, especially, maybe it can just be ad monetization, the ad revenue that they are getting per customer, right? And I think someone from the comment section is also like, they're screaming subscription. Yes, Spotify, subscription is definitely going to be the retention metric. What you're trying to also do with engagement is trying to build perceived value.
Right.
With engagement, you're trying to build perceived value, and then that retention happens. Awesome. Thank you so much.
But
Yeah.
I just have a question. So
Yes.
I use the premium duo subscription, and I don't see a lot of ads just popping up on my screen. In fact, I use it in the background quite often.
Yes.
So how does that work? I mean,
that's an amazing example. You've used Spotify just for a month, right?
yeah.
Spotify is not going to spam you with a lot of ads because they're trying to build perceived value through engagement. And we're going to cover those things. I don't want to dive too much and confuse the entire audience, but we're going to come back to that same example with the same graph again after about 10, 15 slides.
Okay. Interesting. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Saloni. So, thank you, Ria.
Thank you.
All right. Just want to take one more example. Has anyone used Loom or Superhuman? I just wanted to take a slightly B2B-ish example also. Has anyone used Loom or Superhuman? Piyush Saloni says again, yes. Has anyone used Loom or Superhuman? Okay, used once. Okay, cool. So just FYI, Loom is a very simple tool where you can, just record a video. Basically, let's say I'm a PM, right? I want to show my entire team on what we've launched, how we've launched it, or just describe stuff that you cannot do offline anymore, right? Loom allows you to do that. So for Loom, the engagement metric, or a tool like Loom or a Chrome extension for that matter, the engagement metric is how frequently am I actually creating the video, or how many people are viewing that video for me? Because I might create a video once, but if it's getting viewed 100 times a day, every day, I'm still getting value because I can comment on that video, etc. Superhuman is also very simple. How on a daily basis, how often am I sending emails? How often am I using their shortcuts? How often am I using their power keys, right? Cool. So now I think we have a decent understanding about, I hope we have a decent understanding of what an engagement is and what retention is, right? Let's move ahead. Cool. Now I want to jump into like, how do you start driving that engagement or retention, right? We looked at this part. Now, when it comes to driving engagement, let's look at a graph. Let's look at a super cool graph like this. And just on the left-hand side is the state of the mind of your customer, and right-hand side is just how long, right? Let's say you're either like, launched a new feature, or the person's coming to your app for the first time, doesn't matter, right? You've launched a sub feature, anything. Now the person has a trigger, like he gets a push notification, or friends tell him about it, right? I heard about this feature, and they start opening the app. They're expecting something. They have at this point, their excitement, right? Their excitement that they have from your app is at the max, right? But more often than not, what happens is that, what is going to happen? They're going to go into the valley of disappointment. They're not going to understand how to use that feature, or it's not going to set well with their expectations, right? And maybe, just maybe, they might figure it out. So they get some kind of insight from a friend or how to use that feature, etc. But then they are on the slope of enlightenment. And once they understand how to use that app, obviously they're an engaged user. But why am I showing you this graph? This graph is a blueprint for all PMs, growth marketers, to see and understand what your job is. Your job is to get someone from the peak of excitement to slope of enlightenment, and not allow your users go to the valley of disappointment, right? That's at a high level what driving engagement means. And this is very critical, right? Understanding that engagement is not just about push notifications. That's not engagement, right? Obviously that's a part of it, but it's not the entire story, right? Awesome, cool. Now that we looked at these engagement bits, I want to ask a question. How frequently do you think these use cases happen? Let's look at the Tinder example. In the comments, I just want to know, how often do you think, what is the frequency of using Tinder for you? What is the frequency of Tinder being for you or someone you know? Would love to understand. Is it once a day? Is it once a week? Is it once a month? Once a day. Interesting. I never used it. Lunch breaks 3 times a day. Okay. Hourly, once a day. Power users here. All right. Cool. Very interesting. Okay. Awesome. Now, what do you think is the frequency of when you're ordering Swiggy? I am sure everyone's ever always ordered Swiggy from here. What is the frequency range for a Swiggy order? Like, how often do you order from Swiggy? Once a week? Once a day. After Corona, 0. Home food for life, huh? All right, twice a day. Exactly, right? I see everyone having their own use cases, 3 to 4 times a week, or 0 or 1 every day, right? If you're like not home like I am right now, if you're still like away from your parents, you're probably ordering even more so now, right? The point is that everyone has a different natural frequency, and this is where we're going to come to the natural frequency bit. When you're trying to understand engagement, you're also trying to understand how frequently that action is going to happen for your customers, right? Or your users. There are some things that you want to do daily, some things that you want to do monthly, some things that you want to do annually, or once in 10 years, or even lifetime. Can you tell me some apps that you guys already mentioned, right? I think you guys mentioned, some people mentioned daily was, for them Tinder, which is cool. But there are some more power apps like WhatsApp that you guys use daily. What are some of the weekly apps do you think would come in that bracket range of natural frequency of that app itself is to be used in a weekly basis? In the chat, you guys can just reply this. Netflix weekly, okay. Health apps, Book My Show, interesting. Splitwise, very interesting. Exactly. Amazon, great. And what about monthly? What do you guys think about monthly? Cred, yes. Payments, banking app, exactly. I get payments all the time. Yes, bill payments, correct. Monthly. JioMart, interesting. Awesome. And let's go even further now, right? We're going to the annual section. What do you guys think annually? What are the things that you just use annually once in a year? LIC, excellent. Airbnb, very nice. Life insurance premium. Financial income tax, correct. Yes, great. And let's go even more. Once in 10 years or even let's say lifetime. Great, Subhashu. Wedding apps, exactly. Shadi.com, correct. You're not going to use Shadi.com daily, or at least not. So yeah, I think you guys have a very good idea. We also have some just examples over here, right? You'd probably use a Paytm for wallet transactions or Ola when you're going every day for work. You're going to use it daily. Weekly, you'll probably use Zomato Gold. When you're not, monthly is going to be a bank. Any kind of like financial apps lie pretty much in that monthly segment. And annual is going to be your tax breaking. Carwala is going to be going to buy mostly a car in 5 to 10 years, and Jeevansati.com obviously is once in a lifetime, hopefully. Now, the reason why we're showing this graph is if you look at the daily, weekly, and monthly products, right? That section is what we would like to call as top of the mind awareness, right? So what does that mean? If your app lies in either a daily, weekly, or monthly frequency range, your product essentially lies at the top of like your users' minds, right? Anything after that, it's very hard to engage users, right? If you're only having a product that's annual and only like, let's say, lifetime, it gets really hard. Don't worry though, it's not at the end of the game. It's not like you need to exit the session, okay, done, monthly ke baad, there's no use, and go away. But we want to actually talk about how you can drive some subsection features that can be used on a more frequent basis. Like for example, clear tax. You're not going to pay taxes more than once a year. But ClearTax has launched some smaller products, right? Like GST calculations for businesses, where they would require once in a quarter at least, right? A lot of these calculators and what are these tools that they want to start using, where they want to come in that monthly top of the mind awareness zone, is where you're trying to do with engagement. Cool. Awesome. All right. I think we already discussed this, but what do you think? When I asked you guys, I think some people said for Tinder once a day, some people said thrice a day, and some people said once in a week as well. Spotify, same thing for Spotify. I think like not everyone's gonna use. I use Spotify every day, but my sister, she uses Spotify only once a week because she only likes to listen to podcasts on it, right? Same thing with email. Not everyone's gonna use email every single day. There are gonna be certain users who would want to use it every single time, whereas there are gonna be certain people who are traveling all the time, right? And they don't have access to that email, so they'll use it less frequently. Same thing with Loom. It's going to be use case based. What you're trying to understand with natural frequency is think about your users, think about your product. Where does your product lie? Where does your product come into of all of these quadrants? Is it a daily frequency app, and is it daily and frequency for everyone, or is it not? More likely than not, you'll always have people who lie in a more frequent base and a less frequent zone, right? And this is when we start actually coming into segmentation for our customers, for our users, which is extremely important when you're looking at engagement. For Tinder, like let's call it X. Person X is swiping 10 times a month, but someone is also swiping 50 times a month. Person X can, let's say, get in 10 swipes, they're pretty happy, they don't need anything. Whereas some people are more power users, where they're going on more often frequent dates, right? What you're trying to do is think about your product and where does a product like yours, and what is the frequency? What are the people who use your product less, medium, and a lot? And how do you kind of segment them? First thing for you is start segmenting those users, right? As casual, core, and power. Once you do that, once you have this analysis done, once you have these cohorts done, and you recognize what are my core users and how many times, what is the number, right? Is it 30, 31? You need to look at your data and analyze that. Once you have that, then is when you start trying to understand how can I take casual users to core, and how can I move my core users to my power users, right? That is exactly what engagement frameworks are all about. Cool. let's look at the graph again. Remember the graph that we had spoken about? It's going to come back. Yes. So let's say you are maybe Swiggy, right? You are Swiggy back in 2018. You already have a core app. Now what you're doing is you're launching Swiggy Pop. All right. So you launch Swiggy Pop, you get a notification on Swiggy Pop, etc. And you expect that, hey, as a PM, since people are anyways ordering food, they're also going to use Swiggy Pop the same way. It's just ordering food again, right? Wrong. It's not. It's a different feature, different use case. Whenever you're doing any kind of feature, any kind of GTM, this graph is a blueprint for you guys to go back and look at the entire flow for your engagement. What happens when I launch that app? What is going to be their excitement? How can I make sure that when someone clicks on that pop, they are not disappointed? It's not meant for them, or they get lost in it, right? You're trying to get your users again from peak excitement to the slope of enlightenment, right? That's all you're trying to do with any GTM, whether it be Swiggy, whether it be a B2B example, whether it be a B2C example. You're always trying to have this in your GTM. And that's all engagement frameworks are. And start thinking about how you can do those for your products as well. Cool. Now I want to talk about, how we can actually start making people from casual to core and power. But I want to know in the chat section, what is that one app where you rarely use, but it keeps bothering you? Whether it be email, WhatsApp, SMS, ads, what is that app that you very rarely use, but it keeps annoying you? Arogya Setu, okay. OLX, Chayos, Paytm. Yeah, man, Paytm started to spam. Tata Sky. Tata Sky spams. News apps, Google Pay, Truecaller. Truecaller is definitely, yeah. Policy Bazaar. Hathway. Hathway sucks, man. Get out of Hathway. Ex-user. Hotstar, Zomato. Interesting. Cool. So the point I'm trying to make over here is that there are always various ways to actually drive engagement, right? What you don't want to do is this. You don't look at this app, the right-hand side on the sports section. The app is sending me or someone a notification every single day at the same 9:58 p.m. Every single day. The same notification again and again, right? And then the worst is the other app. Now the notification over here says 69 missed calls, but it's not a missed call. It's just a title. It's a misleading title. The offer is for a special discount, right? These are not the best ways to drive engagement. These are actually the worst ways to drive engagement, right? Don't do this. This is always going to hurt you and your brand in the long term, even if you might have short-term gains. Cool. Awesome. Let's dive into how can we get those, users from core to, casual to core to power, right? Awesome. When you look at any app, now let's say I have used Tinder and I've used the app a little bit, but now I'm bored. I'm not used to it, right? I might have received an aha moment before. I have really liked the service of the app, or I liked how let's say I got connected to a very good person, right? I'm pretty happy now. I don't really need it. Or you can take the example of Uber. When the first time you got Uber, you were like, wow, this is a magic moment. I love this app, right? Today, I'm not going for work, maybe not today, but when you used to go back to work, taking an Uber and all, that's not the same feeling that you're going to get. The point is that when you're trying to drive new engagement and drive repetitive engagement, you need to look at different hooks, product hooks that can drive that engagement, right? So you got to take your past ahas, take new hooks, segment your users, take new hooks, and then drive those new ahas, right? And Tinder, just in this lockdown, has released this amazing feature, which is a master stroke, which I'm going to cover now, right? Now, guys, just I've kept it very minimal. I don't want to show anything, so just kept all the screen blanks, etc. Just respecting people's privacy. When you launch the Tinder app for the first time, you see two buttons, right? You like or you don't like someone. Simple as that. Now, when you start using the app, you'll start noticing that They launch a new feature, right? They launch rewind, right? Rewind is basically you swipe, if you say no to someone by mistakenly, you can rewind and use that feature to actually get that person back and then maybe like them back again. You start using the app more and more, you also start seeing another one, which is super like, right? Now, typically, especially in India, the ratio of men and women is very disjointed. The demand supply ratio is extremely disjointed, right? Especially on dating apps. So what's a better way to stand out and tell someone that yes, I appreciate you more than a like, right? That's just giving that extra edge. So Tinder launches super like. You can do 3 super likes or 2 super likes, whatever that frequency is in a day or time span for free, right? And now, even after that, now there's another hook that they've launched. The next hook is the boost or the spotlight section, right? What is spotlight? Spotlight is essentially in Tinder's algorithm. What they're doing is they're putting your profile on the top of the list. Think about it like Craigslist, but like a much better version of Craigslist for you. You're gonna get more impressions, you're gonna get more likes, and you're gonna get potentially more people to swipe on, right? Now, this is what the app was very recently. During the lockdown or around the lockdown, they launched something called a swipe right, right? This is a very recent feature because now this is where our GTM comes into play, guys. Let's assume that I'm a Tinder user for the last 6 months. I've used this. I'm kind of getting bored, right? What can I do to kind of re-engage my audience? Tinder's launched a new feature. Now, this is how they've done the GTM, right? This is how they've done it. There's something called a swipe night. All right. Swipe night is basically they take you through a story. You get a couple of choices. Depending on the choices, the next part of the story keeps changing. And then this goes on and on and on. And you end up with like multiple permutations and combinations. And at the end of it, people who have swiped like you or taken the choices that you have, they will start matching you with those people, right? It's a great hook. One, I'm getting more curated people who are going to take decisions like me, right? It's curation, engagement at the same time, right? This is, and you got to now start thinking about what are the some kind of features that I can have in my product. What are the hooks that we can create in our product to kind of deep dive and drive this engagement, right? Uh, awesome, cool. All right. Now I'm going to summarize all the takeaways that we've had today, right? And then we're going to jump into a long Q&A session, all right, on all the engagement things that we spoke about. But let me summarize first. The biggest takeaway, the first thing that I hope you guys understood is that engagement, what is engagement and what is that engagement metric that you need to look at, right? How do you segment your users into core, casual? How do you look at natural frequency? Don't mistaken someone's natural frequency for churn. That's a very long way to look at it, right? Then how do you create that flywheel of driving a GTM or a feature? What is your job as a product manager or a growth guy to actually do to drive engagement? And last is obviously we looked at how not to do it, and we also looked at product hooks, right? Awesome. Before we jump into like the Q&A, the first question that I want to ask and the thing that I want to kind of stay focused on this Q&A is what is that one engagement problem that you are trying to solve, right? Just raise your hands and I'll let Ruchika or Tanushree just like select someone and please bring them up to the panel. Just raise your hands, guys. I would love to have a chat. I'm not going to do the questioning. You can. Cool. I think there are 7 attendees who have put their hands up. We can get Abhishek Mishra or Udipta also. Anyone. Let's start with Udipta. She is the first person who's raised the hands.
Hi, am I audible?
Hey Udipta.
How are you?
I'm good, man. Am I pronouncing your name correct? Udipta.
It's Udipto.
Udiptur. Okay.
Yeah. So basically, my issue is that so I'm catering to the medical field. Okay, the doctors.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so more than often it happens that the doctors they go to the app, they see it, but then I'm not somehow able to get through that. I mean, I'm not able to penetrate that. they lose interest very easily or something of that sort. So just wanted to know specifically for doctors, what kind of hooks
So,
can be there?
so this product is for doctors, correct?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And your question is essentially is when doctors start using your app, they're not retaining longer, correct?
Yeah,
Is that the
yeah,
question?
yeah.
Right. Is this a free app? Is this a paid app? What is it?
Free app.
It's a free app. And is there like a premium subscription for it?
Uh, so that is not really our metrics.
Okay. Okay. So you just want doctors to use your app.
Yeah, and whenever it is free, it becomes more difficult to retain.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna like make this problem statement concise. Your problem is that doctors that use your app are not staying long enough, right?
Yeah.
Now there are multiple reasons why this can happen, right? First one is your onboarding correct? Is your onboarding making sure that whatever the actions what are the metrics that you're tracking, how many percentage of the people that you're acquiring are actually doing that action, right? Then we would actually come to engagement, because if they're not taking that first action, that's the actually placed for you to go and start solving the issues for. Now let's assume that a certain percentage have actually taken that action but are not making that repeated action. There are 2 or 3 things that I would look at. Number one, is that action what they're expecting from your app? Is it driving the same amount of value? Number 2, are they just exploring your app, or do you have competitors to look at right now? And are they using your competitors as well? The third thing I would look at is the frequency at which. What is the natural frequency for your doctors to use your product or service, right? Because this problem statement right now is a little broad. It can have issues in onboarding. It can have engagement issues. It can have, it can have a lot of issues. So, yeah.
Okay. Fine.
Hope that gives you direction to at least start looking towards.
Okay. Cool.
All right. Next one is Abhishek. I'm just gonna just for that in the interest of time, guys, what I would request is please frame your questions in this way, right? Number one, tell me in the most shortest span ever in 10 seconds, tell me what is the problem statement, what all have you done about it, right? And what has worked. These will help everyone else also kind of draw a lot of learnings, whatever we have when we are chatting, right? Awesome.
So hi, I'm
Abhishek.
Abhishek. Yeah, hi. So I work in a retail e-commerce.
Mhm.
So our main problem is the customer who have uninstalled our app. How to win them back? Actually, we can't go with the notif and all. So currently we are trying to win them back with SMS and emails. So what other thing we can do to win them back?
So Abhishek, if they are uninstalling the app, there can be another 2 reasons. I think we had the same chat with Undipta as well. When they installed the app, did they even get onboarded? When I mean by onboarded, did they make that one single action in your app that is required for you guys to say that, yes, this person is an active user for me? If not, then the problem lies there, right? But if it's completely installs and getting people back, that's a retention problem and that's a churn problem. And I think that day 3 is when you guys will get a lot more insights on that as well. I would like to focus this conversation purely on engagement, Abhishek.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Hey, Joshua. Joshua, we can't hear you, man. Okay.
Is this better?
Yes, slightly. Yes, tell me.
Okay, cool. So I work for an online dermatology service. So basically, we help people consult a doctor, consult a dermatologist, follow their treatment plan month on month, and until they get clear skin or better hair, etc. Right now, what we notice is that most people don't want to go ahead with something once they see they're impatient, right? So how do you solve for impatience with engagement? That's my big question.
When you say impatience, do you mean that people are not willing to take the steps inside your app to actually book a doctor's appointment?
So the app actually acts like it's more based for retention. It's based for, it's created such that people find it easy to follow their treatment plan, right? So we're not having problems with people acquiring users and getting them to buy a treatment plan or get the doctor's advice. We're actually having problems with getting them to stick with their treatment plan. especially because skin and hair, following that treatment plan takes time, and getting better takes time. Yeah.
Got it. So basically, the problem statement is that for your users, when they book an appointment, they book only 1 or 2 appointments, but they're not booking repetitive appointments, because anyways, in skin and in dermatology, the life cycles are 6 months long, etc. Right?
Exactly.
Correct. So they're not getting that value, or whatever's happening in that first session is not
exactly. Yeah. There's not enough change seen in their like skin or hair or whatever for them to be convinced to like go ahead. And it happens because it's just the nature of the.
Got it. So I think for any product, I'm going to generalize this. I'm not going to give you like a direct answer. But you'll get a good direction on which side.
Sure.
Right. So for any product, whoever's in the audience, if you guys have a product which has a really long life cycle, right? Take any MarTech or any B2B SaaS product for that example. Typically, the time it takes for a person to start using the tool and actually start implementing it is about 60 to 90 days. The value is not instant, right? And these guys have been in the business since a long time, and there are a lot of businesses like this that have a longer life cycle. What do you look at? You try to look at what is the minimum amount of time, minimum amount of sessions that it needs, that a user can at least drive some value. And then you have to, and then the job is having that engagement packages only on those bases. I'm almost giving you like an answer. I didn't want to.
Understood.
But you would like to figure out that number. What is that number? Is it 3, 5? You want to look back at your data and see what that number is, and then see if that worked. If did not, then it's another issue, or look back on your numbers. I hope that answers your question.
Thanks. Yeah, it did. Thanks.
Ruchika, please keep me truthful of the time, so when I can have how many other questions. Yeah.
No worries. We have some more time.
Perfect. Awesome. Who's going next? Is it Arjun?
Yeah, I can see 2 names.
Yeah. Arjun, are you there? Hey, Arjun. I'm not sure. Something's wrong.
Yeah, I guess there's some audio.
Yeah, that's fine. Hey, Ritura.
Hi, Udayan.
Hey, hi. How's it going? Tell me.
Going well. So I'm working for a company in the health and fitness industry. And we are only 6 months old in the digital business, and we are already coming up with a new app because the first one was just makeshift. And my biggest problem with engagement currently is that given its health and fitness and the competition in the market, keeping them to one application and using it repeatedly is a challenge. And if you have any thoughts on how do we make sure that the right communications leads them back to the app time and again?
So this is just reiterating the problem statement. The problem statement is that the app is about 6 months old. So that's not the problem statement, that's the context. And the problem statement is that you are having problem with repeat session booking, right? This is an online session, just like how CureFit would have something like a live class. Am I assuming that correctly?
Similar, yes.
All right, awesome. So there are 2 or 3 things that I would look at over here. I think the theme of questions are a little similar. So when you're looking at people who are not doing repeat purchases, there are 2 things that you want trying to look at. Number 1, when you acquired them, right? When you acquired your users, what was the use case that they came in? Did they get that use case solved in your app in the first place? If they did, fitness also is a longer life cycle question, just like how we had in the doctors section, right? What is that minimal amount of time or commitment that it takes for a user to actually drive value? If you're being able to pitch those services in that segment, great. If the problem still exists after that, the next level of engagement, what you're trying to look at is you're trying to engage your audience regardless. Fitness is not just about exercise, right? I hope you would agree that, right? Fitness is a lot about food, what all goes inside your body, how do you sleep, all of those things. When you can start engaging your audience on a more frequent basis, when sometimes they're not committed enough to get to that workout session, right? So So if there are other engagement hooks that you can have to kind of either, if it's a motivation problem, is it a class experience problem? So if it's a class experience problem, there's a product to solve. If it's a motivation problem, then you can create hooks around it and help with content and engagement to drive that motivation in, right? So that's how I would look at it. Hope that answers the question.
Newsletters and blogs a good way to kind of keep them interested in the product?
I don't know too much about the product. Typically these things work. It's not a thing, no, but you'll have to test out. You'll have to talk to your users and see what kind of, if they started getting something like this, where would they like it? I think that would give you a good starting point.
Fair, it does, Udayan. Thank you.
Yeah. Hey Anga, can you unmute yourself?
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
Hey, I'm from Indonesia. We are using CleverTap for engaging our users. So from EdTech for students. So my problem is sometimes I don't know whether my A/B test variance is already reliable or not, because sometimes our users is increasing, sometimes it's decreasing, but I even not sure whether it's because of our intervention or not, because sometimes we use our success story, success variance in previous experiment, but it fails in the next experiment. But sometimes we use the failed one, but it got a higher result. So I don't know sometimes whether it's a good variance or not, or it's good intervention or not. What's the parameter?
I'm just going to make the question concise and keep me truthful here. The question is, when we run experiments, when do we stop running the experiment to know for sure that the experiment has worked, right? Or when do we resume back? And when do we say that this experiment worked because of X, Y, and Z and could have not worked with other factors? Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. So more than engagement, I would say this is an experimentation question. So I'll keep it short just because of the audience and so many people keeping their hands up. I would just give you leading factors to look in certain directions. Number one, the most basic one, are your experiments statistically significant? If they're statistically significant and still you're having these issues, what is the delta of statistical signification that you have? If you're going at 90%, 95%, increase that percentage. If you feel like the variables are not, and I'm sorry for the other audience to have a different kind of a question coming in, different answers, but you're trying to look at what is a delta statistically. Even if that is working, and even if that says that yes, it does, then you want to look at macroeconomic factors, which are not, wasn't an event, was a third party thing that is surrounding you right now that is causing these effects, regardless of an experiment, that can bias your experiment. Like for example, COVID is going to bias a lot of macroeconomic factors. So for you to, if you want to make hypothesis around it, you can take a variable number on how much that macroeconomic is going to drive, factor it with a multiplier, and then use it in your experiments. This is how I would look at it. Does it answer your question?
Yeah. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Ashish. Hey Ashish, can you unmute yourself, buddy? I don't know what's up. Fine, we can go with the next one. Vividha.
Hi, my question is to do with low involvement categories like engine oils and lubricants. So we have an app for mechanics, and it's really quite a challenge. Even though they have incentives, every time they scan a coupon, they get cashbacks and everything. But still, sort of to just get them to engage with us on the app is quite a challenge. So for low involvement categories, do you have any suggestions? Anything that you think we could experiment with?
Sure. I'm going to rephrase that question. Your question is essentially for apps that have use cases that are not, so is the problem they're not scanning your, they're not using your app for what it's meant to be, and they're using it once or twice and going back, or they're only using it when they need that oil? Is that the question?
No, they are not using it as frequently as we would like them to use it.
Got it. Okay, awesome. So I think this is like a classic frequency problem. The way I would like, the direction that I would give, right? And this is probably applicable for fintech companies as well. A lot of times, fintech companies or any company a school is going to require hundreds and hundreds of lakh rupees of payments only 2 times a year or maybe 3 times a year, right? They're a valuable merchant. If you look at merchants from GMV sector or like money that they're giving you for your product, you're going to feel like, oh, these are really good merchants, but they're not frequently coming on the app. Then there are going to be some people who require payments every day, like a Dunzo merchant or a Swiggy merchant, right? Same thing for yours. That is the natural frequency of that user. When you're looking at anything which has a frequency problem, the first step I would say is look at what is the natural frequencies of your users. Look at, segment it into the simple 3 buckets, right? How many people do 1 or 2 times a week, 1 or 2 times a month, and 3 to 4 times a month. Once you have that, what you're essentially saying that their use cases, they're never going to need that much oil. You can't sell me more oil if I don't need it. Then what do you do? Do you give up? No, you look at other product hooks that you can drive more engagement inside your app. Look at your users, what are the different things that they do apart from using oil, and then try to get that in as well. Same thing with the, I think the fitness app example as well, where they're not doing sessions because the motivation was the issue. Over here, if the requirement, natural frequency requirement itself is an issue, then you can look at other hooks. I hope that answers the question, Vivida.
Yeah, I think that helps. Thank you.
No problem.
Udayan, let's pause on the questions for a minute.
Cool.
And we have a quick poll.
All
so
right.
Tanushree, if you can help us with that. So folks, we have a quick poll, just a couple of questions. So take out just like few seconds and do that. This could be a breather for you, Udayan. You have been answering the question.
Yeah, that's fine. Is this a second question? I just want to understand. I just want to give some context here. So there's something. So the second question is basically, do you want to know more about GrowthX Bootcamp? So GrowthX Bootcamp is essentially, it's a product and growth platform where we go after every single facet of growth, right? Whether it be acquisition, how do you acquire your customers? How do you activate them and how do you onboard them? How do you engage with them? How do you make money off them, right? How do you monetize? How do you build growth teams? We look at all the facets of growth and experimentation in an 8-week long bootcamp. If this is something that interests you, you can just mention it on the poll saying yes, and we'll reach out to you. If that's something that does not, if you just want to explore, then you can just go and look at growthx.club and just explore the bootcamp out.
Okay, I think we should be good with the poll. So Udayan, do you want to take some more questions? Else you can always like answer these people via emails.
Yeah, email works fine, or you guys can directly request, even calls at growthx.club. That also will work for us.
Great. So I think this has bring us to the end of our session. Thank you so much, Udayan. This has been a brilliant session. We have got so many questions in, and it was definitely super interactive. And the way you explain how people can avoid the value of disappointment, that was my favorite part personally. So thanks a lot. And thanks everyone for being an amazing audience. And have a great day.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Ruchika. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.